Blake Lively took Justin Baldoni all the way to the courthouse steps, 2 weeks before trial, then settled, received $0, signed no NDA, and Baldoni is now planning a $10 million book deal about everything he knows. So here is the one question this entire settlement cannot answer. What exactly was in those sealed documents involving Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds that was worth more to Blake Lively than actually winning in court?
Second team is in.
Blake Lively was one of the most recognizable women in Hollywood. Gossip Girl. Ryan Reynolds' wife, 4 kids, a brand built on charm and relatability that most celebrities spend decades trying to manufacture. And in the summer of 2024, she starred in and produced It Ends With Us, a film about a woman escaping an abusive relationship. A film that made over $300 million at the global box office. A film she had been publicly passionate about for years. And then everything fell apart. Because in December 2024, Blake Lively filed a formal complaint with the California Civil Rights Department against her director Justin Baldoni, alleging that on the set of that same film, she had experienced serious misconduct, and that after filming ended, Baldoni and his team had orchestrated a coordinated smear campaign, specifically designed to destroy her public image before she could tell her story. Think about what that means. The woman who starred in a movie about abuse was allegedly experiencing a campaign of retaliation from the man who directed it. The irony of that is almost too painful to sit with. And sources say when that complaint became public, the response was immediate. Audiences divided, social media erupted, every entertainment outlet on the planet picked a side. And Blake Lively went from one of Hollywood's most beloved figures to one of its most controversial, overnight. But here is what most people do not know about what happened next. Because Baldoni did not stay quiet. He did not apologize. He did not settle quickly and quietly the way most people in his position would. He picked up the phone, called his lawyer, and filed the most aggressive legal counterattack in Hollywood history.
I'm a man, and this is a story that is told through the lens of a woman. And especially when it relates to intimacy scenes and to scenes where there is a mix of intimacy and violence, I wanted to make sure that those scenes had a female gaze. As much as I can try to see the world as a woman, I never will be able to.
Because in January 2025, Justin Baldoni did something that nobody in Hollywood expected. He sued Blake Lively back. Not quietly, not defensively, aggressively. $400 million. A countersuit alleging defamation and extortion against one of the most famous women in the entertainment industry. Think about how that feels from Blake's side. You filed a complaint about what you experienced on that set. You went public with it. And the response from the man you accused is a $400 million lawsuit aimed directly at you. That is not a legal defense. That is a weapon. And sources say that is exactly how Baldoni's team intended it to feel. Because a $400 million countersuit does something very specific to a plaintiff. It does not just challenge their claims in court. It buries them in legal fees. It occupies their lawyers. It exhausts their resources. It makes the cost of continuing to fight feel greater than the cost of walking away. It is a silencing mechanism dressed up as a legal filing. And for a while, it worked. The narrative shifted. The internet pivoted. Suddenly, the story was not just about what Blake alleged happened on that set. It was about whether she had fabricated everything, whether she had manipulated the situation, whether she was the real aggressor. And sources say that narrative shift was not an accident. It was the point. But here is what Baldoni's team did not anticipate. Because in June 2025, a federal judge looked at that $400 million countersuit and threw the entire thing out. And in doing so, opened a legal door that is about to cost Baldoni far more than $400 million ever could. Because the moment that judge threw out Baldoni's $400 million countersuit, California's legal system handed Blake Lively something far more powerful than any damage award she could have won at trial. A law called Civil Code Section 47.1, introduced in 2023, specifically designed to protect people who report harassment from being silenced by retaliatory defamation lawsuits. And what it does is devastating in its simplicity. If a court finds that a defamation lawsuit was filed specifically to intimidate or silence someone who reported harassment, the person who filed that lawsuit faces mandatory financial penalties, treble damages, meaning whatever the court decides is appropriate gets tripled, automatically. And Blake Lively's legal team had been building that argument since the moment the countersuit was filed, because their position was clear from day one. Baldoni did not file $400 million in defamation claims because he had a genuine legal case. He filed them because he wanted Blake Lively to feel the weight of 400 million reasons to stay quiet. And a judge agreeing to throw that countersuit out was the first signal that argument had merit. But here is where the February 2026 settlement conference changes everything you think you know about how this case was actually playing out behind closed doors. Because on February 11, 2026, a court ordered both of them into the same building. 6 hours, forced mediation. Two of the most famous people in Hollywood sitting in separate rooms, with lawyers shuttling between them, trying to find a number that made all of this go away. And after 6 hours, there was no deal. Baldoni walked out of that building smiling. Blake Lively looked stern, and the trial date held. But something happened in those 6 hours that nobody reported properly, and it is the detail that explains everything about why the settlement that eventually came looked the way it did.
This is obviously you're taking on a lead role as well as being a producer on this film. How do you find balancing the two of those?
Well, I'm not the type of actor who can act without producing, like you can't just put me in any clothes and give me any words and have me step in and transform. And I used to be very insecure about that.
Because here is what was sitting inside that courthouse waiting to go public the moment this case went to trial. Blake Lively's legal team had filed a motion to seal specific evidence, private videos, emails, text messages, involving what the filing described as high-profile individuals including her famous friends. And in Hollywood in 2026, there is only one person that description points to immediately: Taylor Swift, along with Ryan Reynolds, along with others whose names have never been confirmed publicly. Now think about what that means for a trial. Because a judge had already ruled that anything submitted as evidence at trial would become public record, completely, permanently. Every video, every email, every text message, every private communication between Blake Lively and the most famous people on the planet, available to every journalist, every outlet, every person with an internet connection. The moment a jury was sworn in, and sources say that reality, that specific detail about what a trial would expose, was sitting in the room during those 6 hours of failed mediation in February. It was sitting there in April when the lawyers were still filing pre-trial motions. It was sitting there 2 weeks before May 18th, when both sides suddenly found terms they could agree on. Because here is the question this community needs to sit with right now. Blake Lively's sexual harassment claims had already been dismissed by the judge in April 2026. She was going to trial without her central allegation intact. She had already absorbed months of devastating press coverage, and yet, she kept fighting. Right up until 2 weeks before that courtroom opened. Which means the thing that finally made her settle was not the legal weakness of her case. It was something else entirely, and that something else has Taylor Swift's name attached to it. In 2026, 2 weeks before the trial was set to begin, the lawyers inked a term sheet. The settlement was done, and a few hours later, Blake Lively walked the Met Gala red carpet, alone, without Ryan Reynolds, in full A-lister force, smiling, cameras flashing like none of it had happened. And the details of what she had just agreed to were already leaking. No money changed hands. Blake Lively received $0 from Justin Baldoni or Wayfarer Studios. Zero. After 18 months of litigation, after millions in legal fees, after a public battle that reshaped how Hollywood talked about power, retaliation, and accountability, she walked away with nothing in her bank account that was not already there. And sources say she had pushed hard for a non-disclosure agreement, that keeping Baldoni quiet was a priority for her team going into those final negotiations. And Baldoni refused, completely, which means he can say everything, write everything, publish everything, go on every podcast and every platform and every streaming service and tell his version of every single moment of this story publicly, with no legal restriction whatsoever. And his lawyer made sure everyone knew exactly how that felt. Brian Friedman told Extra that Baldoni is ecstatic, that both Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios CEO Jamie Heath are very pleased with where this ended up. Think about those words for a second. Ecstatic, from the man whose $400 million countersuit was thrown out, whose smear campaign allegations generated global outrage, who spent 18 months being described as Hollywood's villain. He is ecstatic. And Blake Lively is at the Met Gala, alone, smiling for cameras. while the internet tries to figure out who actually won.
Blake Lively is keeping her family close, as the Gossip Girl alum made her surprise appearance at the 2026 Met Gala May 4th in a billowy Versace gown. She had a very special family member help her up the steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City.
Wait, because while Blake Lively was walking the Met Gala carpet alone, and Ryan Reynolds was posting a happy couple selfie on Instagram specifically to kill rumors of problems in their marriage, Justin Baldoni was already on the phone with publishers. According to a May 13th report from In Touch, Baldoni is actively exploring a $10 million tell-all book deal. $10 million about everything. Every conversation, every allegation, every behind-the-scenes moment from the set of It Ends With Us. Every detail from 18 months of the most explosive legal battle in Hollywood history. And sources say the interest from publishers and streaming services is already significant. One insider told the outlet that for any TV company or streaming service lucky enough to pull this off, it would be a guaranteed slam dunk, that there would be a bidding war without question, and that it is hard to imagine Baldoni getting any less than $10 million for his story, if not more. Now hold all of that in your head simultaneously. Blake Lively received $0 in the settlement, pushed for an NDA, and did not get one. Had her core claims dismissed by the judge before the settlement was even reached, and is now watching the man she accused spend his newly acquired freedom, planning what sources describe as one of the most commercially valuable tell-all opportunities in entertainment history. But here is the twist that every outlet covering this story has completely missed. Because Baldoni being ecstatic right now might be the most premature celebration in this entire saga. And the reason why is still sitting in a federal court in New York, waiting for a judge to rule on it, with no possibility of appeal. And here is what Baldoni's celebration is missing, because the settlement did not end this case. Not fully, not yet. Blake Lively's legal team retained one specific right when they signed that term sheet. The right to pursue Justin Baldoni under California Civil Code Section 47.1, the law specifically designed to punish people who file retaliatory lawsuits to silence those who report serious misconduct in the workplace. And here is what makes that retention so significant. The judge threw out Baldoni's $400 million countersuit in June 2025, which means a court already determined that countersuit had no legal merit. And Section 47.1 says that filing a meritless retaliatory defamation suit against someone who reported misconduct carries mandatory financial penalties, treble damages. Whatever the judge decides is appropriate automatically tripled. And Baldoni waived his right to appeal as part of the settlement, which means whatever Judge Louis Lyman decides when he rules on that motion is final, permanent. No appeals, no delays, no years of legal back and forth, just a number, tripled. Landing directly on Justin Baldoni, on Wayfarer Studios CEO Jamie Heath, on publicist Melissa Nathan, on Jennifer Abel, personally. And that ruling is coming within weeks. So when Baldoni's lawyer says he is ecstatic, and when Baldoni is on the phone with publishers planning a $10 million book deal, he is doing all of that with a federal judge's ruling still sitting over his head that he has permanently surrendered his right to challenge. And sitting here watching this unfold from Oslo, what strikes me most is that both sides went into this settlement claiming victory. Blake Lively's lawyers called it a resounding victory. Baldoni's lawyer called him ecstatic. And the truth is, nobody actually knows who won yet, because the most important number in this entire case has not been written down anywhere. It is sitting on Judge Louis Lyman's desk, and when it lands forever. Now I want to hear from this community, because you have been watching this story as closely as anyone. Who do you think actually won this settlement, Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And if you want to understand the legal machinery that made this entire battle possible, we broke down the California law that is now sitting over Baldoni's head in full detail right here on Fame Insight. If you have been with us, you already know how that one landed. I will see you there.
Blake, how are you doing? We love you, Blake. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Blake. How are you feeling? Good. How are you feeling?
Are you hoping to settle?